The night shift. Blacker than Barack. Blacker than 1,000 midnights. Street. Scholarly. Informative and ignorant. The night shift.
Hello. Tonight, we frolic down memory lane in order to get perspective on youth employment today. We go into the archives of a venerable Baltimore resident named Georgia, raised by loving parents, but forcefully subjugated by a hater named Jim Crow. Miss Georgia will give us abundant insight on the self-reliance that the black community had during her time. Let us explore.
Chuck Rufus here. So what kind of job did your parents have?
My mother worked 2 jobs. One was at the hospital. That's where the children were. My father used to work for a scrap metal company, and I had to work too.
Where did you work after school?
I worked as a domestic worker. Over where I used to live, we used to go out and scrub steps and people's kitchens.
What age would you say that you joined the workforce, outside of the household, got your own job, paying taxes and everything?
I was 17. I used to work out on Bell Avenue, and I worked out there 5 days a week, and on Saturdays too sometimes. I used to work in the restaurants too, I forgot about that. Down on Baltimore Street, dishwasher, when I was young.
Would you say that school prepared you to, get all these jobs?
School did help in a way, but my mother really taught me what to do.
Is your mother or your parents is what inspired you to go out and get these different kind of jobs?
Yes, because when my father wasn't working, when they were laid off from their job, they didn't just sit home when they didn't have work to do. They would go out, older men, they would go out and shovel snow like the young people now, and it wasn't about how much they made. It was as long as they were out there making $1.
Was there segregation in your time?
In my time,
yeah.
I lived it. My family lived in South Carolina. We went around the back of the stores. We had to go to the back of the bus. There wasn't no ifs, well, there's seats up front. You had to go to the back. Now, I say I lived segregation to a certain extent. When Mom and Dad bought their house, East Baltimore, that was segregation, But they worked. Some people did have good jobs. Like I had friends that had their fathers had good jobs working like the brewery and stuff like that.
So back then, even though segregation was happening, people still was working and people still was, owning homes and property and stuff. And so now people can't, they losing homes, foreclosing on everything, losing cars and all that. So what up with that?
In my parents' generation, there was more work. They didn't make a lot of money, but there was more work. And in this generation, it's very limited. You're blessed if you get a job.
In your parents' generation, there were a lot of jobs, but it just didn't get paid.
But things weren't as high as they are now. Bills are going up, but your pay isn't going up.
So how was youth jobs, jobs for the youth, different back then than now?
We went out and did housework, day's work, but it was a job. That was the main thing. When my children was growing up, there was a difference. They had city jobs where they could work after school, and then once that job was over and school closed, they could go right into another job. This way, they weren't hanging on the corners. And like now, they say, well, the children can go to the rec centers. If the parents can't pay the $175 for the children to go to the rec center, you still have children, little and old, hanging on the corners. And what are they doing? They have nothing to do. And a lot of parents is working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. When you say we don't have money for the rec centers, we don't have the money for the children's jobs, but yet still you have to have a curfew for them where if they had money, that they could go places together. There's plenty of places for the grown-ups to go, especially those that have money, But where can our children go?
Did we lose our work ethic? You know, the young people we lost our work ethic?
Some have, because sometimes the children will listen to what the grown-ups say. If you have a grown-up saying, I'm not going to work for that little bit of money, that'll be instilled in the children's heads. And if you really want to work, you'll take a job and get that so that you'll have bus fare to go find something else.
So with all that, what advice or what words of wisdom could you give to the youth today that's still looking for jobs?
Do your best, go to school every day, listen to your parents, and do your best in school. That's the main thing. Listen to your teachers. Study. Stay in the books.
Put in the groundwork before you get to the goal.
As you just heard, the infrastructure that once supported our young people has forever changed and is not coming back. Like Miss Georgia eloquently stated, youth everywhere need to be diligent in order to pick themselves up by their Nike boot straps. As a powerful black man named Jesus once said, if you teach a young man how to fish, he will never, ever sit idle in a food stamps line again. Thank you for your time. Our interviewee is a God-fearing brother man that's not afraid to get on his hands and knees to pray and to work.
Boy Chuck Rufus, live from the streets. Ron's gonna tell us about his job and, you know, all details on that. So